May God's divine love, the peace of Christ, and the guidance of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Dean LaFrancois, and it is my honor to welcome you all here to Plymouth Congregational United Church of Christ. On this special occasion where we get to celebrate a very, very special person and near and dear to all of us, Marilyn Wixson. Marilyn, I had the good fortune of only knowing for a short amount of time, but I feel like I got to know her all her life in that short amount of time. One of my first experiences was playing cribbage with her and being not badly beaten, but I definitely lost. Why don't we have a prayer? Loving and ever-present God, we come into this moment just as we are, with hearts that feel both heavy and full, heavy with grief and full of gratitude. We give thanks for Marilyn, for her love, her laughter, her wisdom, and for the ways she showed up in this world, as a teacher, a friend, a mother, a grandmother, and as someone who made space for others, at her table and in her heart. God, you already know what we carry. You see the tears, you hear the stories we're telling and the ones we're still holding. You know the quiet places where her absence will be felt most deeply. So be close to us now. Surround this family with all who loved Marilyn. With your comfort and your care, hold us in our grief, in our questions, and in our love. As we remember her today, help us to be honest, to laugh when laughter comes, to cry when tears come, and to find strength in one another along the way. Remind us, God, that love does not end, that nothing in all creation can separate us from your love, and that even in death, you are still at work, bringing life, holding hope, and making all things new. Stay with us in this time. Steady us, comfort us, and gently lift our heads. We offer this prayer in the spirit of the love that holds us all. Amen. Please join me in singing our hymn, a hymn that was very special to Marilyn. In the bulb, there is a flower, printed in your New Century hymnal on page 433. Please be seated. So yes, we have gathered in this place, drawn together today because of one person, one of God's beloved daughters. We come in faith and hope and in deep gratitude for Marilyn Wixson, for her life and for the woman she was. Marilyn was not just a person who moved through this world. She was a beloved daughter, a cherished sister, a loving wife and a devoted mother, a favorite grandmother and a loyal friend, a dedicated teacher and a bright spirit, and a caring person in so many lives. Marilyn carried with her a deep sense of rootedness and connection. Marilyn's life was expansive. She traveled the world, yet she never lost her appreciation for the small, sacred moments in life. Baking cookies with grandchildren, playing cards and hosting dinners, walking through town with friends, singing along to a favorite song, or simply being present with the people that she loved the most. And that is how many of us will remember her, not only for the places that she went, but for the way she made space for others in her life. Her home, her table, her time, her heart were always open. Some people move through life and leave footprints wherever they go, footprints of kindness and love, of courage and compassion, of humor and joy, of faith and quiet strength. Marilyn was one of those people. Even now, we look back and clearly see the path that she has left behind, a path bright with hope, inviting us all to follow in those same footsteps. Yes, she will be deeply missed. There is no way around that truth. But her legacy lives on in each of you, in your hearts and in your stories that you tell, and the ways you love one another because she loved you first. And to you, Marilyn's family and chosen family by blood or by choice, you are blessed not because this moment is easy, but because your grief is a reflection of the love that you felt, that love that was real and that was full. You knew her in all seasons of life, when she was joyful and when she was struggling, when she was strong and when she needed to rest, when she wanted company and when she needed some space. And all through that, you loved her. That kind of love is a gift, and even now it remains. Marilyn was also part of a wider community, but she cherished deeply her friends, her neighbors, her fellow volunteers, bridge partners, church family. She made this community that we are in today a better place. And so today, even as we grieve, we also give thanks. Thanks for a life so fully lived. Thanks for a love so freely given to everyone. And I have to say this because it feels exactly right for Marilyn, or at least the Marilyn I got to meet. This is not the end of the story. We trust in what God has promised, who holds us beyond and what we can see, beyond what we can understand. And in that hope, I find myself smiling at the thought that somewhere in the fullness of God's presence, she's found a card table, she's shuffling a deck of cards and getting ready. And when the time comes, I look forward to that cribbage rematch in heaven. Maybe I'll have a chance of winning, I don't know. I have a feeling that Marilyn will still be as sharp as ever. But maybe, just maybe, I will maybe get a chance. Until then, we carry her with us in love and memory and gratitude and in the sure and certain hope that in God, love never ends. I'd like to invite Jessica up.
Hello, I'm Marilyn's daughter, Jessica. Thank you for being here today. My mother requested a celebration of life service, so I'm here to share a few stories to celebrate my mother. We had so many great family adventures growing up. Summer driving out west, walking through the waterfalls on the hurricane deck of Niagara Falls, and laughing hysterically because the overpriced ponchos we purchased did absolutely nothing to keep us dry. I remember when she took my hand when I had vertigo at the edge of the Grand Canyon. She took us on a helicopter ride into a volcano in Hawaii, in a sleeper train car traveling across Thailand, a ferry ride out to PEI in Nova Scotia, and she introduced me to my first love, London, England. We had so many lovely mother-daughter retreats too. Colorado, Martha's Vineyard, Block Island, Vinyl Haven, and beyond. Also, as a kid, not only did I love our adventures, I loved coming home and walking into the kitchen and being met with the music of Joan Baez or John Denver blasting on the stereo, and my mom cooking dinner and singing along. Last month, when she was leaving Dartmouth, she asked to go to Golden View, and she asked me to drive her there. When Jonathan and I picked her up, I queued up Annie's song by John Denver, which was her wedding song. I asked if she was up to listening to it. She smiled and said yes. The song started and she asked me to turn it up. And she took my hand. When the song finished, she said, play it again. So on the hour-plus long ride, we blasted the 3-minute-long Annie song on repeat and held hands. I love how she always embraced my friends, none more than my husband, Sky. She attended all of his art exhibitions and supported his pizza oven at the farmer's market, and always called her favorite cookbook the one Sky gave me, even though it had been a gift from both of us. She rejoiced at the birth of my children, Wyeth and Marsden, and baked them their favorite cookies and took them on walks and listened to many stories about trains and planes, and she even learned a little bit about Minecraft and soccer superstar Lionel Messi. And of course, over the years, I loved my mother's and my many, many, many walks, especially this time of year when the days get longer. After I would put the kids to bed and it's still light out in the evening, I'd call her up and we'd enjoy another walk before the sun set. The day before my mother died, she took my hand and she looked at me. She said, I'm ready to go. I want to go, but I don't want to leave you. I told her, you're a part of me. You'll always be a part of me. You'll never really leave me. You'll be with me on my walks. You'll be with me when I'm boarding the plane on my next adventure and when I'm blasting my music in my kitchen or in my car. You'll never leave me because you're a part of me always. My mother died peacefully on April 6th, 3 years to the day of my father's passing. I remember after my father died, so many people shared stories how they loved seeing my mom and dad walk around town hand in hand. The night before she died, I was staying with my mother overnight. In the middle of the night, she said, Cookie, take my hand, and she reached her hand out, and she smiled. After she died, my brother and I were packing up her room at Golden View. We were comforting each other how beautiful it was that Mom and Dad died on the same day, April 6th, 3 years apart. I commented how after Dad died, I found so much comfort in the springtime, when everything started to bud and bloom again, the rebirth and the seasons of life. As we continued packing, I was carefully placing the love notes and letters my father wrote to my mother back in their box, and I felt compelled to read one. In it, my father wrote about his love for my mother and his love for spring, saying, quote, the magic of spring is about to unfold, a time when the warmth from winter bursts forth with new growth. When I looked at the date of the letter, it was written many years ago on April 6th. I smiled They are together again in their rebirth, walking hand in hand. My son Wyatt heard me practicing, and he asked if he could say a few words.
I love Grammy. She used to live across the street from me, and I remember going over and getting a cookie or having dinner with her and drinking limeade with orange juice. She made the best cookies, peanut butter and oatmeal. I love you, Grammy. I remember you on the walks we take, the cookies we bake, and everything in between.
I'm getting my handkerchief out first. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ed's daughter, Jennifer. Marilyn never liked the term stepmother, and neither did I. And so she always introduced me as Ed's daughter and then my friend. After she passed, I went through some old correspondence that I had from when I was living in California in 1977. And I found a letter that Marilyn wrote to me, January 13th, 1977. I thought I would share part of it with you. Dear Jenny, you sound happy way out there, Jenny. I'm glad. I have been debating for some time with myself about what I wanted to say to you. I'm sure I have many of the poet's feelings, but not your ability to express them. I have read your book, Cleaning Out the Attic, several times. I like it, and I can remember several similar feelings. When I was 20, I spent a year in Glasgow, Scotland. It was a beautiful and free time. I want to tell you that I think it's super that you had the brass to take off and to go it alone for however long you want. The 10 years of my life following Scotland were interspersed here and there with good, comfortable relationships, but not the growing, overpowering kind. I had come to the conclusion that I would rather be miserable alone when the time came than be miserable living with someone else, the wrong person. I also figured there had to be more than what I had found because what I had wasn't worth much. I found that something more in your father, Jenny. I love him with all my heart. He is the only person I have ever truly loved, and I know that now. We have a beautiful marriage, and he is a good and gentle man. If I'm talking out of turn, please excuse me. I just somehow got the feeling that you wouldn't mind knowing and that you might understand. Almost 50 years ago. After I reread that letter, I realized it had been laying on my heart for quite a long time because I never answered her back, not directly. I packed it away, though. I didn't throw it away, obviously. And so I thought, well, I would write back to her. And this is my letter. Dear Marilyn, sorry this reply is a little late. Thank you for your kind words about my book, Cleaning Out the Attic. I was always proud of that one. Thank you also for the encouragement and support you've given me in my writing career over the past 50 years. You've been an important early reader and editor of my Sovereign series of novels. Oh, by the way, I did add that character index you recommended in January to Now the Day is Over. That was a good call. In rereading your letter, I think now it took a lot of courage, brass, as you would have said, to write to me in 1977. Our family went through a difficult time during Dad's divorce from our mother, and you reaching out to his children after your marriage was one of the catalysts that helped bring us back together. I'm grateful over the years you not only included us in your family, but also went out of your way to make being with you, Dad, John, and Jess a special, memorable time. And the worst I ever heard you say about all the extra work and trouble you went through hosting Dad's extended family, which always included our Varney relatives as well as numerous children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, was, "Please move everyone out of the kitchen for me, Jenny, so I can get the food on the table." Thanks also for sharing with me your love of Scotland, which created another strong bond between us. I can still remember the day in 2008 when I told you that Stanley and I were going to raise and breed Scottish Highland cattle. "Oh, I want to buy some Highlands for your farm," you exclaimed. Dad laughed at your enthusiastic offer, but he didn't try to talk you out of spending your money as you wanted. It wouldn't have done any good. Some folks who know how cost-conscious you are might be surprised how quickly you forked over the thousands of dollars to buy us Jasmine and Maggie. But not me. I know that when the heart is open, so too is the wallet. Stan and I have loved having you come to the farm in Maine to visit your Scottish Highlands and us, and their offspring, and their offspring's offspring. We will miss you at the farm, although you'll always be with us in our heart and in spirit. Thank you for supporting my career in the ministry. I love the stole that you brought back from Thailand for me, and I wear it in the pulpit. And every time I wear it, I think of you. One of the proudest moments of my life occurred in the past few weeks when, knowing that you were dying, the nurses at the facility asked you if you wanted to see the chaplain. "Oh, Ed's daughter Jennifer is my personal pastor," you said. I'm grateful to have shared your sacred final journey on your way to rejoin Dad and be there for Jonathan and Jessica, your beloved children, with whom you've always trusted me. Probably not wisely, but... And finally, Marilyn, thank you for showing us, all of us, the meaning of unconditional love and devotion. I remember once about 30 years ago, you said to me, "I don't think all married couples have the same kind of deep love that your father and I share." I think you're right. And now that you have risen above the suffering of the flesh, free from pain and despair, I picture you and Dad strolling hand in hand through the garden, and in the cool of the evening, as God goes to take his daily walk, he witnesses your devotion to one another, and he says proudly to himself, "Yes, that is how I always meant for love to be."
Hi, I'm Leif Anderson. John is my lifelong best friend. And I just want to say, first off, how honored I am to be asked to speak here, to share some thoughts about Marilyn. Marilyn was a part of my life for the last 4 decades. I don't really know that I can remember much about life before her. I do know that every time I saw her, it was with smiles and laughter. I have 0 memories of her that are not fond. The last time I saw Marilyn was the week before she passed. I went to visit her and I sat with her and I talked to her for a while. And at one point when we were talking, I told her that I loved her and how grateful I was for having her in my life. And she looked at me and she said, "Why?" And I was sort of astounded by that. But my answer was immediate. And I said, Marilyn, you have always made me feel welcome, loved, and like an equal, even when I was just a kid. And those feelings started when I was very young. As a kid, I think all the people in my generation were taught to address their elders as Mr. and Mrs., and to knock on doors before you entered somebody else's house, and to wait to be invited in. But Marilyn Wixson would have absolutely none of that from me. I spent an enormous amount of time at the Wixsons' home. John and I were nearly inseparable from the time we were in kindergarten on. And I would often walk to John's house or be dropped off there. And I would walk through the garage and I would knock first on the door into the mudroom. Sometimes I'd get an answer and sometimes I wouldn't. So I'd go through that door into the mudroom, and then there was a door there that separates the mudroom from the kitchen, and I would knock on that until I heard, come on in. And I'd open the door and I'd walk in and I'd say, hi, Mrs. Wixson. And she'd smile, and then she'd cheerfully look at me and say, Leaf, how many times do I have to tell you that you don't have to knock at this house? You can just come on in. And my name is Marilyn. Stop calling me Mrs. Wixson. And we battled over that for quite a while. But eventually, I came to realize that she meant that very honestly. I felt so at home there that there were often times when I would show up and there would be no one home. And I would go right in and I would sit in that kitchen and I would raid the pantry and I would wait. And when they came home, it was never as if there was an intruder in the house. It was just that I was home. My last visit with Marilyn, I brought her a little package of Swedish fish with little red candies because I cannot see those things without thinking of her. In their pantry, there was always a box of Swedish fish. And to this day, I am certain that she made sure to stock them because she knew that I loved them. Marilyn talked to me in a way that most other adults didn't, or didn't feel like they did. Often as children, I think we look at adults and there is a certain level of intimidation or a feeling that you are speaking to, you're in the presence of authority. But what I felt when I spoke to Marilyn was that I was talking to somebody who was truly listening, truly interested, and truly invested in me. There was a feeling of mutual respect, and that persisted throughout my entire life. Marilyn truly was my friend. And it's not just Marilyn's friendship that she gave me. The Wixsons' home was not just a place for me to feel welcome. It played a critical role in the foundation of the lifelong friendships that I am so lucky to have. I'm blessed to have a core group of friends that I've shared life with for over 4 decades. And I do not think that it would be possible for me to overstate the contribution that Marilyn Wixson made in fostering those friendships. You see, the Wixsons have a basement in their home that would have made a great adult hangout. There's a bar. It would have made a great lounge, a place for socializing with your adult friends. But from a very young age, they ceded control of that basement to us kids. When we were very young, John and I and the rest of our friends, we'd take all the cushions off the furniture down there, and we'd make forts, or we'd make bunkers for our Nerf wars, or we'd pile the cushions up at the bottom of the stairs and launch ourselves off higher and higher steps to prove who was the bravest or the craziest. As we got older, we had ping pong tournaments. We would watch movies. We'd play Risk and other board games down there. And as we got even older into our adolescence and our young adulthood, it became a safe place for us to do all the hijinks that young adults get into. The basement was like a clubhouse for us, and it really did feel like it was ours. It was a place for us to safely hang out together, where we had privacy to the point where I don't know that I remember a time when Marilyn or Ed was even in that basement. There were a few times, probably more than I'd like to remember, when one of them would have to knock on the door, and then they'd open it and shout down to us something like, "Guys, could you keep it down? Or can you come up and clean up this mess in the kitchen?" It was a gift, that basement, that played an incredibly large role in the formation of the friendships that I've had for 40 years, over 40 years, and that I know will continue for the rest of my life. In no small part, the core group of friends that I have exists because of Marilyn and her patience and her love and her respect for us as people. I know I speak for all of those friends when I say that we are grateful. And the final thing I'll say is that, again, during that last conversation I had with Marilyn before her passing, I asked her if there was anything she thought I should know about life. If there was anything that she had learned that had stuck with her as she reflected upon her time on this earth. And she took some deep breaths and she paused for a few minutes and she sat thinking. And then she started to talk to me about her friends and her loves over her life, her partnership with Ed, her children, her community. And at the end of it, she just looked at me and she said, "Leaf, I just feel so lucky." This wonderful woman sitting there, so tired, so painfully aware of her mortality, knowing without question that the end was near, felt lucky. And I will never forget those words. I will never forget her face when she said that to me, because in her smile, I knew that she meant it. Marilyn Wixson meant every word she ever said to me. And I'm lucky to have known her, to have been her friend. Marilyn Wixson's life was a gift that this universe gave to all of us. And I, for one, will cherish my memories of her forever. We are all the lucky ones for having had the gift of her presence.
Hello, I'm Jonathan, her son. My mom was an amazing woman. She taught me, both intentionally and unintentionally, many lessons that I will never forget. I'm going to share some of them with you today. When I think back to my childhood, the first thing I remember is the genuine enthusiasm with which she did things with us kids. It was obvious she loved it, from playing card games to going skiing to backyard games to just being goofy. My mom taught me that it is important to be present when you are with someone, and that enthusiasm can be contagious. She loved us at all stages of our lives. I would show up with a pack of wild teenagers, and her focus was less on making rules and more on making cookies. My mom taught me that if you love people, a lot of the rest will take care of itself. My mom taught me how amazing traveling could be. New sights, new cultures, new adventures, new people, new thoughts, and my favorite part, a new perspective on your own life when you got home. My mom taught math for many years and in many settings. I followed in her footsteps and those of my father. And I too became a math teacher. The most valuable teaching lesson my mom ever taught me was I didn't teach math, I taught people. My mom taught me that going for a walk is always a good idea. Whether you're 5 or 95, it's time to get out there. My mom is the only person I've ever known to get over 20,000 steps in a day by accident. She said, people just kept asking me if I wanted to go for a walk. A walk with someone, it's a great way to get exercise. It helps you think and talk in new ways. But at its core, a walk with someone is about being connected. It's about sharing an experience. You don't have to sweat. You don't have to talk. You can just take it all in. And as long as you're doing it together, you're doing it right. My mom taught me there's no better motivator than watching your 70-something-year-old mother lift more weight than you can. She never wanted to do it, but she did, week after week after week. And now I do the same. In her final days, my mom taught me that people on their deathbed can still be really strong. When she hugged me for what I should have known would be the last time, I remember thinking, Mom, you're going to crush me. I learned from my mom that even when the body is weak, love is strong. The last days of my mom's life were a very spiritual journey for my sister and I. I was afraid of a life without my mother. My mom taught me that our connection transcends death. Where is my mom right now? I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is with my dad, and they are happy. Do you know where else she is? She's with all of us. Every time you remember her, every time you go for a walk, every time you play a card game, every time something really little goes wrong and you swear your brains out under your breath, because as she liked to say, research has shown that swearing helps relieve stress. Above all else, my mom taught me the value of spending time with the people that you love. So thank you all for being here today, in person and in spirit. I love you all.
Hello, I'm John, Marilyn's brother. I still recall the day, 1944, when Dad took my brother and me down to meet the new member of the family at Roger Williams Hospital in Providence. I have many memories of our early days together. She was considerably younger than my brother and me, so we probably didn't share the kinship that we might if we had been closer in age. But we did very well. I'm sure, teased her a great deal, and she said we picked on her, but I think it was all good-natured teasing. She survived it very well. And some of the memories I have is when she was probably 6 or 8 years old, she developed a tremendous love for sweet cherries. And on the farm, we had 2 sweet cherry trees, both of which were about 30 feet high. And she was like a monkey climbing those trees, picking cherries. And she just absolutely loved them. And many of you may recall that in more recent years, she became a real lover of red raspberries. And she would go back to the farm in Rhode Island, and she always came back with raspberries because that was one of her favorite fruits to ever come along. Now, when I left to go to college at URI, Marilyn was about 14, and we would see each other some on weekends, but we didn't have a lot to do in common. I did get up to her graduation at Bates College, and we kept in touch as best we could. We'd see each other a couple of times a year, but that was pretty much it. When I retired from Virginia Tech in 2002, Vicki and I had bought a travel trailer, and we became very fond of traveling the country with our pickup truck and travel trailer. And about the same time, Marilyn and Ed bought a travel trailer, and we had several really wonderful trips together. We traveled to Nova Scotia, probably at our first trip, but we traveled to the Outer Banks in North Carolina. We were down to the Great Smoky Mountains and really had wonderful times. And one of the more memorable trips in some ways was when we went to the Adirondacks. We came up from Virginia, and Marilyn and Ed, and camped on this really pretty lake in the Adirondacks. And we looked around and we said, this beautiful campground, and there's about 4 other people here in this campground. What in the world? We really beat the rush. And that night, the black flies descended. And Marilyn lasted about 2 days, and it's the only time I can ever remember Marilyn meeting her match and giving up. But she said, Ed, we got to go. I can't do this. So they packed up and came home, and Vicki and I said, we're too far away from home. We can't quit now. So we came and spent some time in Vermont and roamed around and eventually came to Plymouth and visited. But that was quite an unusual situation for Marilyn to admit defeat. In later years, we traveled quite a bit with Marilyn and Ed without the trailers. One of our memorable trips was to Scotland. As you heard earlier, Marilyn spent her junior year in Scotland. And she convinced us we should go, and we did so. And one of the interesting parts of that was that Marilyn was the designated driver. And that doesn't quite give you the connotation that you might think that we really were all sober. It's the fact that she was used to driving on the left-hand side of the road. When our mother got very ill and needed care at a nursing home, she moved into a home there in Greenville, Rhode Island, and my dad refused to let her go alone. So he went with her, and sometime later she passed away, and he was totally devastated. That had a long and wonderful life together, and he had essentially lost his will to live. If he had returned to the nursing home, I seriously doubt that he'd have lived a month. But Marilyn and Ed packed him up and brought him to New Hampshire. He totally regained his enthusiasm for life. He lived here with them for 2.5 years, and some of the best years of the latter part of his life. And it was truly an act of selfless love on the part of Marilyn and Ed to bring him home with them. To sum it up, I would say that Marilyn lived a loving life. She lived it to the fullest. She skied, she hiked, she motorcycled, she traveled, she played bridge, she played oh hell, she played all kinds of games. She loved life, and she served her community in so very many ways that go way beyond anything I even appreciate. She was just a wonderful woman.
Well, thank you all truly for sharing who Marilyn is to all of us. Let us be in a spirit of prayer. Loving and gracious God, we come to you in this moment holding so much. Gratitude for Marilyn's life, sorrow in her absence, and love that does not end. We thank you for who Marilyn has been to all of us, for the ways she showed up with kindness, humor, wisdom, and care, for the relationships she nurtured, for the memories that will continue to shape us as we move forward in this life. And now, with trust in your love that holds us in life and in death, we place her into your care. Into your embrace, O God, we commend your beloved daughter, Marilyn. Receive her, we pray, as one who is yours, held in your love, known fully and welcomed home. Surround her with your peace, and gather her into that place where love is complete with her beloved Ed, where joy is renewed as they walk together, and where all things are made whole. And for us who remain, be gentle with our hearts. When grief feels heavy, steady us. When memories rise, let them bring both tears and laughter and gratitude. When the days ahead feel uncertain, remind us that we do not walk alone. Help us to carry forward the love that Marilyn gave each and every one of us, and the ways that we care for one another, and the ways that we show up for this world, and in the small, everyday moments that matter most. We trust, God, that your love is stronger than death, and that nothing can separate us from your love, not even in this moment of goodbye. And now, in the spirit of that love, we join our voices together in prayer, the prayer that Jesus taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. As we come to the end of our service, I know the family has invited everyone to Foster's Hall, which is at the Common Man right here in Plymouth, around 5:30. That's correct. 5 o'clock? Good thing I checked. So you're all welcome there. All right. Go from this place in peace, carrying Marilyn's love with you in your memories, in your lives, and in your care for one another. May the God who walks with us always hold you, comfort you, care for you, and gently lift your head. Go in peace. Amen.